Hello everyone and welcome back to another podcast of It's a Rare Thing. Today I want to revisit our review about a very unique and vital UK charity, the Ann Conroy Trust. This organisation is the UK's only educational resource dedicated to providing information for individuals diagnosed with Chairi Malformation, Syringomyelia and associated conditions. So why are we revisiting this podcast? Because we did do it. We did do a podcast on this a couple of months ago, and we had a couple of American health professionals who were absolutely fantastic, and they came to us, or they contacted us via the one of the American support groups, and saying, "Oh, look, we'll help you out. We'll review the Ann Conroy Trust," and for reasons of confidentiality, we couldn't use their real names, and we ended up AIing their voices so they could remain anonymous, because apparently in the States you can't really endorse any other organisation. But that's not the real reason for looking again at the Ann Conroy Trust. I was lucky enough to attend one of their meetings only yesterday with the trustees, and I could see that actually there was a whole range of activities and advancements that we hadn't covered in the previous podcast. So they really had developed. And I thought, right, I think we need to take another look at this wonderful charity that, again, if you've been diagnosed with Chairi Malformation, Syringomyelia, or again, you're living with those conditions, or simply a syrinx, and you want to make sense of actually what's going on in your world, this small charity can give you the information, not the advice, but the information that you need to sort of go and get the advice that you need. So let's start with the basics. What are these conditions? Well, hopefully you may know, if you've tuned to this podcast, that syringomyelia is a condition characterized by a cavity within the spinal cord filled with cerebral spinal fluid. Not easy to say on a Sunday morning. And these cavities can vary in size and shape. Chairi Malformation, or Chairi Malformation, on the other hand, is an anatomically abnormality affecting the lower part of the brain where it connects to the spinal cord. It's important to note that the term hindbrain hernia is sometimes used to describe all forms of this condition. Perhaps maybe if you're of the older persuasion, you may know it by that term. So let's delve into what makes the Ann Conroy Trust so special. Well, it was established in 1980 by Ann Conroy, who herself lived with Syringomyelia. She recognised a crucial need for support and resources for individuals with these conditions and their families. The trust is run entirely by volunteers who are patients, healthcare professionals, their families and friends. It really is quite a unique charity in that respect, and having met the trustees again yesterday, you just know how well run this small charity is, and how they care about the patients and the research that they fund into these conditions. So, as I said, the primary aim of the Ann Conroy Trust is to increase knowledge and understanding of Syringomyelia and Chairi Malformation. They strive to help people live with, rather than suffer from, these unusual, highly unusual neurological disorders. Most people I know can't even pronounce the word, let alone have ever heard of the term Syringomyelia. Anyway, there's a few ways that the Trust can offer support. So first of all, educational resources. The Ann Conroy Trust, as I said, is the UK's only educational organisation providing information on these specific conditions. They aim to help patients understand what their hospital specialists are telling them. Because, right, all too often, you go and see a GP, you have some scans, hopefully you have an MRI scan, then hopefully you see a neuroconsultant, a neurologist, and you don't get as much time as we need, right? But that's life. That's just the way things are. The NHS, as we well know, is well stretched. You get a 20-minute appointment. Then you receive your diagnosis. Hopefully you'll then receive a follow-up appointment. Of course you will, with some suggested options. But, your head is absolutely probably a bit of a mess, to be honest with you, when you come out with that initial consultation. What does it mean? Is this life-limiting, life-changing? Am I going to be okay? Don't Dr. Google it. That's the most important thing. Don't go to Google, because all you will see is the worst-case scenarios and lots of scare stories, and I think some untruths as well. So again, their aim is to help patients understand what their hospital specialists are telling them. Community support. The Trust also focuses on building a supportive community, and I'll talk more about that in a second. They're re-establishing a network of local support group meetings, and again, I met with Sarah yesterday, who's heading up that piece of work, and it really is remarkable. The local support groups are really taking off, and if you want to get involved, I'll give you the details of that later. And also, they're working to re-establish a telephone helpline, which is being coordinated by a lovely person, Jane Yates. So I think that phone line is now up and running, and I'll give you the details of that in a minute. Information, not medical advice. So I think that's really crucial, that the Trust specialises in giving information, not medical advice, because these conditions are pretty much unique to most people who live with them, to be honest with you. Anything concerning the brain or the spinal cord, there isn't a one-size-fits-all prognosis, solution, treatment, or even conditions. So it's really important that you understand that the Ann Conroy Trust offers information and not medical advice. Instead it focuses on empowering patients with knowledge so they can make informed decisions with their healthcare providers. And they also provide a list of UK-based hospital specialists who are interested in treating these conditions. And again, I'll talk about that in a second, because I'm going to go through their absolutely fantastic annual magazine edited by Julie Millward. And we're just going to thumb through that together so that we can take a look at the latest developments. They fundraise for research. So raising funds for research into syringomyelia and associated conditions is very important to the Ann Conroy Trust. It was very important for Ann Conroy herself, and the Trust relies on fundraising initiatives to continue its mission. And I'll talk about how you can become a member of the Ann Conroy Trust as well. Very, very well worth it. And I suppose lastly, but not leastly, is keeping people informed. The Trust also has various ways to keep people informed about their activities, not least of all the website. But they are about to launch a new social media initiative, which is a better way perhaps to connect with people, younger people, and people on the go who just want to pick up their phones, a couple of swipes, and find the information and the support that they need. It's important to understand that the Ann Conroy Trust is not a government agency or part of the NHS. It's completely independent. They are a small charity, and at times they may be unable to provide comprehensive immediate support. However, rest assured they are committed to doing everything they can to help you. The Ann Conroy Trust helps patients to navigate the complexities of living with Syringomyelia and Chairi Malformation and their associated conditions. So if you or someone you know is affected by these conditions, again, the Ann Conroy Trust is a key resource to help you get the support and knowledge that you need. So look, I said I'd look at the magazine because I think it's a really, really excellent magazine. And if you sign up to be a member, and the annual membership is it's pennies, trust me, it's pennies. It's £15 a year, okay, which is, I think, what is it? It's not even, it's nothing, is it? It's a couple of coffees for you and a friend. So annual membership, £15, sign up. You get a lovely magazine every year. They try and hold a face-to-face meeting every year as well. But of course, looking at the website, you'll be able to keep in touch with everything that they do. Trustees. Well, let's talk about the trustees. We've got Graham Flint, who is an eminent neurosurgeon, now retired, a wonderful guy, and totally committed to the membership. Nick Hayden, who is a neurosurgeon and an extremely funny guy. I'm sure in a former life, or maybe even a side hustle, he's a stand-up comedian somewhere. But he's a very talented medical advisor and trustee, but funny guy as well. We've got Julie, who is, as I said, the magazine editor, and Sal Yates, who is our website liaison officer and trustee. If you take a look at the magazine, you'll be able to see who the other officers are. There's Jay, there's Sarah, there's Georges, there's Marion, there's Sarah, and there's Janet, who I mentioned earlier, who's the email liaison officer. Really, really great people. And again, they are all volunteers, so they deserve your support. Of course they do. Support them like they support you. Membership, £15. Do it now, okay? Right, okay. Lots of useful contacts in the magazine. And I guess what most of you will be interested in if you receive the magazine is the UK specialists. So they have a little section in their magazine that says the following names are of consultant neurosurgeons and consultant neurologists who are practicing in the UK who have declared an interest in Chairi Malformation and Syringomyelia. And I think it's important that the list that they are editing are associated with the British Syringomyelia Chairi group members. So again, there's a list of consultants there, and I think they're also looking at localising those centres that may have some practice in this area. So, okay, in this magazine, oh look, there's a picture of a unicorn in a wheelchair. It's a Rare Thing podcast. If you want to get involved in this podcast, do. Okay, first of all, you can email us. But secondly, if you do take membership and you do take a copy of this magazine, there's a QR code, so you can just zap it and send us a message, which would be fantastic. I mentioned the launch of their telephone helpline. Got a pen and paper? Write it down. Here comes the number. I'll give you 2 seconds to get a pen and paper. So they've now re-established their support helpline. They launched their new telephone helpline on the 26th of November last year. That's 2024. And I guess their take on it is that when you get diagnosed with a rare neurological condition, it can be a very lonely and scary time. You don't know where to turn to for information and advice, so many thoughts go through your head about your condition. You wonder what your next step should be. Your fears about the future and what life will be like going forward. To have someone on the end of a phone who you can talk to, who's a personal understanding about what you're going through and can offer you some guidance, support, and share their experiences with you is absolutely invaluable. I think we all agree with that. So they're immensely proud that as a charity, they're once again able to offer this vital service to anyone who is in need of some support or an empathetic listening ear. Yeah. So the helpline is run by a team of 5 trained volunteers, which are amazing. This is Abigail, there's Anne, there's Christine, there's Jane, and there's Sally. So that number, 03330 149 450. That's 03330 149 450. The helpline operating hours will be between 10 and 2 p.m. That's 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. Tuesday to Thursday. And on a Saturday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on a Saturday. That's 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on a Saturday. So I guess somebody has drawn the short straw and has agreed to give up their Strictly Come Dancing viewing hours, which is really quite incredible, I think. There you go. So that's the helpline team, and there's more of their stories and details in this year's magazine, as well as some really fantastic stories for those who are living with a condition but have raised money. There is also a benefits guide by Janet Sutherland, and this is about the personal independence payment. So if you find that your condition has affected your mobility, which it can do, and you are incapacitated and unable to work, or you just need some further financial support, that's what PIP is there for. Okay, and there's a very handy guide there by Janet Sutherland who can talk you through that. Now, I did mention that there are local support groups which are popping up around the country, and I think what I will do is I'll probably refer you to the website to take a look at that and see who and where these local support groups are. But for sure, they are appearing. There's even one in the Isle of Wight run by a local support group leader, Philip White. So absolutely, if you want to get involved, if you want to become a local support group leader, then again, look at the website or sign up, get a membership, and then just reach out. There are going to be, of course, it's a charity, right? There's going to be rules and there's going to be governance around supporting those local support groups. That's what you would expect, right? Any responsible charity would do the same. So as long as you're happy with that, then you can sign up and you can get involved. So that really is the Ann Conroy Trust. When we did this podcast originally, I was contacted by quite a few Americans and other Europeans, as well as some of our friends in Ireland and Northern Ireland, saying, look, why don't you mention us? Why don't you mention our support groups over here? And the fact of the matter is, I don't really know who you are, and I don't think I would really feel comfortable with endorsing those groups or other charities, however worthy and fantastic they are, without some sort of personal involvement or understanding. So forgive me if if you want to go and do what I'm doing and put a podcast together and promote those charities and groups in your country or your local area. I think that's a fantastic thing to do. And also do reach out and in true partnership style, share any resources you might have. So that's it for this podcast. This is the revised Ann Conroy Trust podcast. I hope it's been really useful to you. And what I would say is, if you have been newly diagnosed, get the advice, get the support that you need, and keep talking until you're satisfied that you understand your condition. Okay. Until then, stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you on the next podcast.